Hello, good evening, everyone. I am Kamama Hako, and welcome to Somebody's Got to Do It. In studio with me this evening, I have Caviene, Christie, and she will be sharing with us the ins and outs of her job, which is she's a voice over artist, and she's going to explain what that is all about. Caviene, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Okay. I think I'm having a bit of a delay with your response, but hopefully we'll get through that. All right. So first of all, I
Okay.
want you to tell me, what is a voiceover artist? What is it that you do?
Okay, so you pretty much use your voice to bring color to words. So you are the voice of a character in some instances. There are times when you have to voice commercials or ads or maybe an audio book, things like those. Yes, that's pretty much what a voiceover actress does.
When you say the voice of a character, so you mean like in cartoons and jingles and anything of that nature?
Yes, so anything at all of the, yes. So for example, in an audiobook, right? It is a book, of course, but it is in a book in an electronic form. And so to bring the book to life, of course, there are characters, and you might have several persons being the voice of those particular characters, or you might have one person being the narrator of that particular audiobook. So for example, well, not for example, but on the radio, you might hear commercials from time to time. It is a person who has that skill who does it. Also on your phone, and so you will hear interactive voice recordings, and it's the voice. Well, now it has changed because of course you have artificial intelligence that can mimic actual voices. But prior to
Yes.
that, and it's somebody who actually goes in a studio and records according to what the client wants.
Yes, and I want to touch on that a bit later, the threat of AI in the industry. Do you work alone most times or do you collaborate with others?
It's a mixture, but I'd say most of the times I am the only one in the studio. Sometimes, if there's a collaboration, we don't always record at the same time because
Okay,
sometimes persons schedule might be different, but the person who is listening on the other end, you can't tell the
tell the
difference.
difference. Okay,
You
so whose job would
can't.
it be
No,
to put it all together?
the engineer.
Okay, and so
Yes.
I'm trying to picture. So the engineer would be employed by you or by the person who is commissioning the jingle.
The
You would
engineer
be.
will be employed by the person who is commissioning the jingle, whether it is
Oh,
an advertising straight through an advertising agency or just a regular client.
all right. So is it a particular studio that you work with? And who chooses the
No,
studio? Is it you or again the company or the individual hiring?
well, it all depends on the circumstance. So in
Mm.
most cases, well, the first question was, do I use a particular studio? No, I use several different studios depending on which one is available.
Okay.
Also, some engineers I would have become accustomed to them over the years, and so if they get they have a job and they feel that my voice would be best suited, they would call me
Okay.
in to come and record, or they will ask me to do a sample and send it in, and then the client chooses whether they want that voice or not.
Or not. So it's a case like the casting situation with actors and actresses where you hear of a, do you have an agent? You work with an agent? How do people
No, I
reach out?
no, I don't.
So it's a case,
No,
how do you know that these jobs are available then? That how do
the
you know that
producers.
this this company needs a jingle to be done, or they need some kind of, or this author needs a voiceover? How do you get in touch with your clients?
Okay, so after working in the industry for several years and clients and or agencies become accustomed to you, many times what they do is they just call directly and say, I need for this to be voiced. Can you do this X time? And so there's a conversation, and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps the conversation takes place with the engineer first. So the client will contact the engineer and say, okay, I want Caviene to come and do this. Can we work out a time and what have you? Sometimes the client is actually in studio at the same time, and the client
Mm-hmm.
also acts as the produce. They wanted to help with the production, and so sometimes it's just myself and the engineer who is there
Engineer.
that
Okay.
just have a script.
All right. And you basically have to book the time, the studio time. You have to make an appointment. How does it work?
Well, if I am going to do something if a client contacts me directly, of course I would have to go to the studio and call to see what time is available, and so depending on how urgent it is, sometimes they want it the next day, right? And you have some studios you call them and they're available, and
Mm-hmm.
especially like if it's an emergency and they need for something to be done like ASAP, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time in my case, especially of late, it's the studio person who normally calls me and said, I have this for you to do, can you come in X time to do it? And we have an agreement,
Mm-hmm.
and I go in and do what needs to be done.
When we think of jingles, for example, it's just like a little 2 minutes, 3 minutes, if so much, right? But how much rehearsal goes into getting that 3 minute clip?
3 minutes is very, very, very long. Normally, a jingle takes 30 seconds, sometimes 15
Seconds.
seconds, just
Yeah.
mere seconds. But to
Mm-hmm.
produce if you're somebody who is very, very experienced, it doesn't take long. Studio time, the shortest amount of studio time is normally an hour, and an entire production can be done in 1 hour. So you voice it in 30, you mull over it, you get a
Mm-hmm.
script, and the script is just the words that are there. They
Yeah.
don't necessarily tell you how they want it to sound, you just add the personality to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're accustomed to the brand, right?
Right.
Like a restaurants of Jamaica or one of those companies, you're already accustomed to the type of tone and the atmosphere that they want. So
Mm-hmm.
you just pretty much go there and you mull over it a bit, and the producer will tell you, well, the engineer in my case, in most times, you say, yeah, man, I like that one. And you just replicate that particular sound that he says he likes. And it usually takes a very, very short time, depending on the length of the strips.
So you're usually given that artistic freedom to just
Most times they will tell you the tone that they want. So if they want you to sound like they want you to have a lot of vibes, they want you to sound excited, they will tell you. If they want it to sound more newsy or like a flight attendant sound, something like that, depending on what it is, they will tell you beforehand.
okay. So even for a 1 hour session, is that an expensive thing? The studio time for booking a 1 hour. Give us an idea
Um,
of cost that
to
that
be
that.
honest with you, very few studios do 1 hour. They actually do 2 hours or more because it is more viable for them, you
Okay.
know. But usually my things are very, very short. I normally do them very, very quickly. So sometimes half an hour. And then they do the treatment and what needs to be done on it. And half an hour sometimes is very long too. But and I'm not aware of in recent time what studio time costs, because it doesn't normally involve me. It's normally the client and the engineer who works that out beforehand.
Works
They
that
make
out.
that agreement, and so I come
Okay.
on the back end. Yes.
Okay. All right. So for like somebody who is just starting out, um, what would you say? How would you encourage them in terms of building their portfolio, getting themselves out there? Just
Okay,
start.
so
Go ahead.
just starting out, well, you would contact advertising agencies. There are quite a few of them in Jamaica. Just go online, just Google them, advertising agencies in Jamaica, and speak to the creative director, and they will ask you to do some oh dear, some reels, some samples, so that they can get an idea of what it is that you can do, and you send a variety, and you email them, and they normally put you on a file. And so, and especially if they like you, and you go among other persons who are there before you, and when jobs come up, if your particular tone fits that project, they will call you, and you do a sample, and they tell you whether or not they choose you, and so you get the job and you go.
Okay. Tell me something, because in my mind, I'm thinking this kind of work, right? So you're doing these voiceovers, they're going to be on the radio or on the television. You wouldn't want to be too much, you wouldn't want to be doing too many different projects. In my mind, you can correct me when I'm finished, right? So in my mind, you would want to be too much out there, right? So you would pick and choose the projects, but then that would restrict you in terms of your earning power. Because I'm thinking this couldn't be something that someone would do full time, because if you're doing it full time, it would mean that you're going to be doing this project, that project, that project, and everywhere we turn, we hear the person. It kind of make it too much. That's how I'm
Okay.
thinking of it. So how would you? What's the reality of that?
Well, the reality is that most of the persons who do voiceovers, that who I know of, especially the voices that are very distinct, the one that can say, oh, this is that person, or that is that person. That's not only what they do. Many of them have a regular 9 to 5 or do other things. And so this is like a side hustle for them, something that they're very, very good at. And from time to time they do it. But if you are a person who freelances, you are not contracted to a particular company, you can do as many as you want. What I don't do though, and another person might have a different view, is that I tend to not do voiceovers for companies that are competing. So they have the same
Oh,
product,
okay,
and
right,
so I wouldn't do for the two competing telecommunications company. That would
right.
be a conflict of interest, even
Conflict.
though you really couldn't tell the different sounds of the voices because I don't sound the same way all the time. But personally, I don't do that.
Well, that makes sense. So you are a teacher as well, and I know that you also have been a homeschooler. Tell us a little bit about that aspect of you.
Well, as you said, yes, I teach. In fact, not too long from now, in a couple of days, I will start going into mainstream. But what I did previously, and starting with my own children, is to have a homeschool situation. Now, prior to COVID, not many persons were aware that yes, Jamaica has an actual homeschool, situation that is very, very organized, and that it is actually legal to do that. Before, it was after COVID that many persons actually started to develop an interest and started to, say, this is something that we can do and we can do it this way and so. But I did it long before COVID. In fact, with my own children, I homeschooled them myself for about 5 years before I allowed them to go into mainstream school. Fortunately for them, during that time, they were not alone. So I have two children. And so when I decided that I was going to take that route, I had other friends who wanted the same kind of situation for their children. So it became not only something that I wanted to do for my family, it also became my source of income, and my children got the opportunity to be around other children, not just the three of us all the time. A lot of other children were also there with here
Okay.
rather with us.
Okay. And do you still homeschool?
No, my own children, I stopped a few years ago, just before PEP, because I decided that I wanted to make some changes and I wanted them to now get the opportunity to go into mainstream so that it would give me a chance to explore other things for myself personally. The plan was never to um, go at it for more than 5 years. It worked extremely well for us for the 5 years, but I started to, embark on future planning. And I say, if something should happen to this, I was a primary person. I had nobody to assist me. I was doing it just myself all the time. And so I said, I'm going to give them the opportunity to go out. And then what I did when they went out is to start. It was the same. I had a same homeschool setting, but it was at that time it was for children who had a particular need and it wasn't working out for them in mainstream. So they'd stay with me for like a year or two, and then they'd go back into the school system depending on what it is that they had. They worked on it for a year and then they'd go back in.
Okay. And for the voiceover, how long have you been doing it?
I started in 2006. That time, I was working at a radio station, and so I started in customer service because there was no space. Well, there was no vacancy, but I said as long as I get a foot in the door, I'm going to
Mm,
reach where I want to reach. So I started out in customer service. Of course, at a radio station, when you're answering the phone, you have to have your voice have to sound a particular way, and so on. So, and then I did that for a few months, and then there was a vacancy in the production area, and so they said come and do an audition. And I went to an audition, and by the following week I was a producer. So what I had to do was I had to find news, I had to do interviews, I had to go out and do outside, well, not outside broadcasts. Well, yes, I did outside broadcasts with my other persons who worked there, but my main thing was to do the interviews, get the stories, and it so happened that one day the studio, I was the only one in studio. So and I also read on air. So I read the news live on air, and I did
mm,
ads. Well, I didn't start any ads then. And the persons who normally do it, there was on some projects, I was the only one who had to read for the entire day. And one of the sales rep came to me and say, I have something to voice now. You alone here, you read news on the air, so you must can do this. Say it have to do so, you do it. And she gave me the script and I did just say, all right, that sounds good, go in the studio and do it. And that was the beginning of it. Um I wasn't nervous or anything because that was something I liked, but I never knew that I had that kind of a knack. I just it was just off the bat, and then it just kept happening over and over and over again until other persons knew about me, and I kept going around.
did you work with anyone in terms of training and preparation for the voiceover?
Not voiceover in particular, but I did voice and
Speech
speech.
training?
Right, so
Okay.
I did voice and speech. I was doing speech all the time, like with JCDC and so. But in terms of actual voice and speech, knowing how to use your voice and also knowing to go the different places to get the different sounds and all of that, how to how your face works with your voice and those things, how you're supposed to smile even when you're on the phone, how things emit a particular emotion even over the phone. And so I I learned that with doing some sessions with Faye Ellington. So she did those because she actually does voice and speech training. So that's where I got some formal training where that
Okay,
is.
so you're also very involved in the performing arts. You mentioned JCDC.
Yes, yes. So as a child, I was that one who was always talking. You couldn't get me to stop talking, you see? And always I was like an Anansi. I was always telling some story. Not Anansi in the terms of being that sly, out of order,
You
rude
just
person,
mean up and down
yes,
and
but yes, I was very comical and I could tell you a story how when it not go so. And so I like to be on the stage. Absolutely love that was my favorite place to be, and I love to be just put a mic in front of me and I talk until your ears drop off as a child. And so my grandmother, she was always pushing me to do things. I was always on the stage, always singing. Well, in my head, I can dance very well, but those who watch, they might think otherwise. But I'm always on the stage doing something. Unfortunately for me, my children came the same way. And I said, if
Mm-hmm.
especially during our homeschool situation, I said, this would be a great way to give them that chance to go out to. So I trained them to actually go on stage and to do the very same things, do recite poems and so on. They did quite well. And I used to
Okay.
do that also. So that was where all of those things from long time, from donkey years ago, and certain things start to be unearthed. And I said, but I never know if I could have do this, or this is something that is actually a thing, and you can make money from it, and
Right.
yes,
And is it a very well, I
lucrative.
must tell you, I must tell you first before I even ask. Whenever I ask persons about one of the misconceptions that they think persons have about their job, the number one answer is most people think we earn more money than we actually do. How about this job? Is it something that can really make you earn, or is it something that most people would think you earn much more than you actually do, as most of my guests would say?
Well, yes, most people actually think you make more than you do, but I tell you what, you make as
Because
much
you're in
as
the
you.
limelight, right? Because you're in the limelight, they
Yes,
expect.
which is a common perception. People think that from you're out there, yeah man, you're making a lot of money or whatever.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, you make as much as you really put in, but it takes a lot to make a lot. And if you make a name for yourself and you're really serious about it, there are many, many opportunities. But let me be honest with you. It is just like in entertainment. It is an extremely competitive industry. You actually have to be liked by a lot of persons to actually have a go at it. And that's just the truth. Some persons, no matter how good you sound, because somebody else has a name behind the voice and a known name, they go by that name, and that person make more than you because the client will just jump and say, oh, this is a come on, and everybody is accustomed to this voice and whatever. And so you would make more per second than I do, because not necessarily because you have any more experience per se, it's just because you have a bigger
That
name, a known name.
and that flair, that
Yeah.
charisma. Is it equally spread between the genders from your observation?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
Okay. Um, so you said it comes naturally to you because of your experience, right, in the storytelling, and I can imagine you're a fan of Miss Lou, as I am.
Very much
And
so.
yeah, so do you ever feel when you go into the studio and ready to do your thing, even with all your experience and even with the passion you have, do you ever get stage fright? Do you feel nervous just
Never.
before? Never, no, never.
Never. I just the overall, it's just not my personality at all. Never.
Mm,
Even if I go and I'm going to go to the studio and I did not get the script from before, because most of the times they would send you the script and you get a feel of it before. If I go to the studio now and they give me the script now, it don't make a difference to me. I just
mm,
don't. I don't have that kind of that personality where I get into. If the prime minister is in the studio, it makes absolutely no difference. I'm not going to do it any worse. I'm not going to do it any better. It's just the same thing that you get. I'm
okay,
not going to be awestruck or anything like that. That's just not me.
okay. So usually, um, at this roughly halfway through, we have a slideshow in this program, right? So I'm going to start the slideshow. And what I want to do is to share with our viewers some of your voiceovers. So
Okay.
while I'm playing the slideshow, hopefully the volume will be enough for our viewers to hear. All right. And I want you to tell me also if you're hearing it properly.
Okay.
Okay, so all right, so let me start it.
Complex structures in our body, as we rely on them to navigate and understand the world around us. As such, it is important to receive care of the highest quality. For
Are
over
you hearing
60
it?
years, Modern
I
Optical
am.
Solutions has been
Yes.
providing a premier level of comprehensive eye care with services such as comprehensive eye examinations, diagnosis and treatment of diseases, fitting of soft and specialty keratoconus lens. And now, all customers 65 years and older are entitled to a 10% discount on all complete pairs of glasses. Qualified and experienced personnel at 5 countrywide locations, willing and waiting to serve you. Modern Optical Service, your eye care professionals. We sell chicken, not pigeons. Royal Castle gives you bigger chicken pieces, more chicken and less batter. That's super value for your money. Our chicken is fresh and local halal, straight from Bounty Farm Limited, marinated with fresh local ingredients and pressure fried to perfection. 100% whole natural chicken, not processed imported meat. Also, try our rotisserie. No batter, less cholesterol, and don't forget to try our world famous green pepper dip. It will keep you coming back for more. Our culture, our taste, Royal Castle, flavor down to the bone. Please be advised that 10-digit dialing is now in effect for all local calls. Do remember to dial the area code 876 before the 7-digit number you're calling. Your call will now be connected. This is a message from Flow. Unleash your confidence with the 2018 Kia Sorento 7-seater, ranked as the best mass market brand in J.D. Power's initial quality survey for 4 consecutive years. The 2018 Sorento represents the world's class quality found in every car and SUV Kia builds. The Sorento starts at just $5.8 million with a 5-year warranty and 2-year service package. Visit ATL Automotive showrooms in Kingston or Montego Bay or call 754-0013 now. Kia, the power to surprise. The 2018 strikingly sporty Kia Sportage is all about offering you more than you'd expect, with an exterior built for life's adventures, an interior with ultimate comfort, performance engineered to excite, and awe-inspiring technological confidence. The Kia Sportage is a remarkable new driving icon, starting as low as $51,115 a month. This 2-liter all-wheel SUV will take you comfortably everywhere. Experience the new 2018 IIHS Top Safety Pick awardee now. Call ATL Automotive on 1-876-754-0013 to test drive yours today. Terms and conditions apply. Please be advised, you are no longer required to dial a 1 in front of a local 888 toll-free number. Please dial again, beginning with 888 and the remaining 7 digits of the number you're calling. This is a message from Flow.
Okay, Kevin, tell me about the type of equipment that are in the studio. Is it just a microphone?
Well, on my side, I just have a microphone. I am behind the glass. And so in the part where the recording is done, it's the microphone, the headphones so that I can hear myself and the instructions from the producer or the engineer. There's a stand where you can place a device or the script on. And then on the opposite side, where the person who is doing the controls, they have this board with all these buttons and lights and all of those things. Of course, they have a computer, they have the speakers, and those are pretty much the equipment that are there. I really don't know what the name That board, let's call it the board. It has a lot of things on it, and they're the ones who operate it. So I just
Okay.
go behind the glass and I do my thing.
So pretty much you just bring your lovely voice.
Yeah, that's all I do. Just
Okay.
the voice on the script.
All right. So that was our slideshow. All right. So right. So I was asking you about the misconceptions,
Okay.
and other than the fact that people think you earn this hoard of money, because you're in media. Other than that, is there anything else that you think most persons would misunderstand about the job that you do?
Um, for a project of that, well, for some persons, they might find it difficult. All right. So, for example, you're watching a music video. So I'm using that analogy. A music video, and for that small amount of or what they decide to put in the video and do the treatment and what have you, it takes a lot of time, and you have to go through all of the takes and to choose what goes with what, and what syncs better and all of those things. Sometimes, no matter how good you are or perfect you think you are, you might make a mistake and you don't recognize the mistake that you make. And many times it's after you've already left the studio, the client has received the what you've done, and they pick up something that is there, and you have to go back and you have to fix it.
Right.
Sometimes also you think that you've not made any mistakes and you've done a perfect job. The client gets it and said, that's not the tone that I wanted. I want that one to sound a little bit more serious. I
Yeah.
want that to go a little bit faster. I want to hear the smile in your voice. And they are the client and they are the one who is paying. And so you have to pay attention to that, because guess what? They're the ones who are paying you to do
They pay
something.
the piper. Yeah.
Right. And you want to have other opportunities, right? And you have to give good customer service, because if you do and they're pleased with what you do, not only will they want you to do more projects, they will refer you to other persons, because peer
Right.
persons like persons who they can work with, who are easy to work with. You're warm, you have a good personality. Sometimes you have peer persons who are very talented, but they are not warm. They're not flexible and things like that. In days like tabs like these, don't those things really don't work. You're dead for hungry if
Yeah.
you're that type of person. You're aloof and you don't want to listen. That does not work in
Right.
entertainment. Yes, or
You
media.
mentioned too that oftentimes when persons meet you in person, they are surprised about your stature.
Yes. I tend to not sound the way I look. And so I'm very short. Probably shouldn't say very, but I'm short. But I have a big voice. I also sing,
Yeah.
right? And yes, the people say they come and they look for me and they say, call your mother. I was a big woman there, or because they think that I'm a child as well. Except for now that my wisdom is showing, they might think a little bit differently. But most of the times and it's natural, because when we were younger, we used to listen to the radio, and we listen to voices like a Richie B and all of those
I
RJ
you
voices.
know whose voice
In
stands
your
out?
mind, you
Yeah,
conjure up a particular look to the particular voice.
exactly.
You actually
Yeah,
see the person and say, then, oh, same did look. And
yeah.
it wasn't until TV, when you're hearing and you're seeing, and it becomes a little bit different. But no, people still think that, right, because I'm mostly behind the microphone. I'm not in front of the TV.
The
And so,
TV.
yeah, they give it a particular look, because many times I used to I think my voice is still being used for the Flow IVR. And I'm sure many persons don't know that
Yes.
I'm the one who did it, because I'm looking for
Yeah.
probably somebody who looks a little bit more robust or whatever.
Yeah. When I was playing it a while ago, I'm saying people, I know many persons recognize this voice. You know, one of the voices that stood out to me a lot when I was growing up, Doreen Samuels. And the fact that when I was growing up, radio was more the thing, right? Yes, we had television and so on, but more people listen to radio, and you heard the voices and you attach the voice to a particular face, and your imagination comes into it. I guess people
Right.
would even say Barry G with that big powerful voice, and he's not necessarily a huge
Not
person,
at
right?
all, not at all.
Yeah, so I totally understand. um would you is this something you would recommend to young persons coming up, this particular job? Is it something you would say yes, go ahead and do that if that's what you want, or would you caution them?
Um, no, I think there are greater opportunities because you can actually set up a studio for yourself, and
Mhm.
you also can have clients who you've never met them before. You only communicate with them online, and so you have your things out there, your on your demos, and so, and there are numerous platforms that you can put them on, especially for Caribbean sounding voices. Persons in Europe, they want certain things to sound authentically Caribbean because nobody sounds Caribbean like an actual Caribbean person. We just have a sound that is just
Yeah,
our thing. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I've heard Americans try the accent thing.
No, because it's not just about an accent. It comes with a whole heap of thing. I don't
Mhm.
know, but it comes
Yeah,
with a lot of things. You know what I
yes,
mean?
it does,
And
it does.
they just don't have, no matter how deep the voice sounds, you can tell a distinct Caribbean person. And then a lot of persons think that Jamaica is a Caribbean. You understand what I mean? And that's the voice that they normally go for. And it is more than the voice too, you know. It's a type of personality and it's a type of vibe that,
It's-
yes, I'm
that's the
Jamaican.
word, that's
And
the word, it's the
into
vibe.
yeah, but I have to pick up my people them, you know what I mean?
Of
But yeah,
course.
a particular vibe that is authentically Jamaican, and no matter where a Jamaican goes, you just know say yeah man is a yardie that because of the
Absolutely.
sound and the warmth and all of those things.
Mhm.
And I say that non apologetically. It's just that's just the way it is, you
Yeah,
know.
true. Um, how about television though? Have you thought about going more into the visual part of it? Not just with your voice, but to do jingles where you are involved in the acting. Have you ever thought of that aspect of it?
I'm not really interested in that part per se
Mm-hmm.
because I just want to be heard. I don't necessarily want to be
To
seen.
be
You
seen.
know, it takes
Mhm.
too much whole heap of makeup and
Yeah.
have a particular wardrobe, and you have to look a particular way. And I can't bother with that whole heap of fandags and whatever. Come in the studio, I can dress any particular way and comfortable, whoever makes me comfortable to do that job. I do it and I leave. TV takes far more. So a person who reads live on radio is has more comfort than a person who would read live on TV. Imagine prime time and you're reading the news and something happens and you're gonna have to read it. All of these shows, your
Yes.
expression, your body language and everything. If
Yeah.
you get that same news in the studio, nobody's gonna see this.
See
You
your
know,
face, right?
so you're able to express it a different way. But you
Yeah,
know,
because I have noticed, when the anchors are reading, so if it's a sad story, they actually, you see the sadness on their face. They actually have to get into that sad mode. If it's a happy story, you see that, right? And I suppose this is part of their training.
yeah, it's a different skill set because of course you don't want to be laughing and fool and you're reading something that is serious as well as you're reading like a Miss Lou poem or you know you're trying to reenact something or read a particular line and you sound so stoic and stiff and you're reading something that is supposed to sound a particular way. It's a different kind of skill set, especially when you have to code switch. That's not something that's easy, you know. That's
Yeah.
completely different.
Have you ever done something as long as an audiobook? Because that
Um
would take, and I know audiobooks that take 12 hours, 6 hours. And is that
well,
something you would take on? Have you ever
I
done it?
would. I did one recently, but it was not for any commercial purpose. It was something personal for, you know, I am in academia now and so I had to do something like that. I enjoyed it immensely because that was like my stomping ground, you know what I mean? But I had to do it from scratch. The story, I had to come up with the story and everything for myself. And so, but the easiest part for me was, of course, the voiceovers. I had to do the voice of all the characters in there and having all those characters sound differently, you know? And so I've never done it for a client, but it's something that I can do.
How do you achieve that?
What do you mean? The different
To,
voices?
yeah, to get the different characters have different voices, and then you have to keep switching from one to the next. How do you do that?
All right. So for me, I don't know how others do it. I imagine the character in my head, how they would actually sound, because each character has a particular persona, has a little vibe about them. And so if it's somebody who is tush, or somebody who, somebody prim and proper, or somebody who they probably say them a little bit butu or whatever, those are that calls for a different type of sound. So I always say I go somewhere else into my voice box and get that tone, as well as it's not just the voice, your body comes in it too. How you
Yeah,
express certain things, it comes
even
out.
though that's not being shown, but you
Right.
still
All of those things are
go
important because
into.
imagine you have to laugh, right?
Mm,
And you have different types of laughs. You have the nervous laugh, you have the real laugh, you have the belly laugh, you have the
yes.
riotous laugh, and all of those things. All of those things have to sound differently. But it starts, for me, it starts in my head. Once I ascribe a particular sound to a certain person, it carries. But sometimes you might have to listen over, you've recorded the person already, and sometimes you might have to listen to it again to be able to have that consistency. Or sometimes it depends on how it is done. You record that one voice straight, and then you record this other, and then you
You
cut
put
up
it
and cut. But I don't like that part because it's too difficult to do it that way.
yeah.
So.
As a writer, I find that I'm very observant of people. Like I'll be in the bus or in a taxi, and I'm very observant of the conversations that are taking place. Me personally, very quiet. You're not gonna get any word out of me unless it's something really, really important, right? But I listen a lot to the conversations that people are saying, and I use that as fodder for my writing. Do you find yourself doing that, like, especially as you were describing, having to play the different roles and come up with the different voices? You find yourself naturally being very observant of people and their voices and the nuances in their voices. You find yourself doing that, or
Certainly all the time. And sometimes it is so funny, especially when you're in public and you hear how some people express themselves. Hilarious. You can't laugh, because it's just not your place to laugh in the moment. Maybe while you're in your private time or whatever, you laugh like crazy because of something that a conversation that you overheard, an argument that you overheard, how colorful the person's on, and you wonder how them use that word that way and whatever, whatever. And it is so creative, and that's why I love more people themselves. So it we can have a conversation with somebody without even using words, especially with men. Not so much females, but I observe it especially with males. They say very few words sometimes, but they get across what it is they're saying. Sometimes they're making, they joke, or sometimes they're serious. But yes, I am very observant. I tend to listen to the sounds in voices very, very, very keenly because I want to see. Sometimes I look to see what it is that they do to get that sound, and I look at the body language, and I remember sounds very, very, very well. So I catch people's accents. I have a friend who's from Trinidad, and I listen to you over time. I adapt your sound as well. So it's like I'm a sponge. So accents, I get them very, I might not speak the language,
yes,
right?
but you get the
When it comes to the
accent.
accent, I get that. I just need to see how you fix your tongue, or imagine how you fix your tongue when you're saying certain things. And I could do that from I was a child,
Yeah.
you know.
Have you ever been approached to do anything that goes against any particular belief you might have or lifestyle that you might have? So, for example, I imagine if I were doing the kind of work that you do, right? And maybe for example, there's something I don't eat. I always say to myself, would I accept, to promote this particular thing if I don't partake of it? You get what I'm saying?
I understand.
Have you ever had that conflict, where you're asked to do something and your core beliefs go against that? Has that ever come up?
No, I have not had that. What my challenge was some time ago is that because I was accustomed to reading the news on air, I have a newsy tone. You know what I mean? That type of tone. So sometimes I would find it difficult to snap out of that tone into like promoting a party type of tone,
Yeah.
especially with how young people do it nowadays. I don't really subscribe to, I can't really, that's not my thing, you know? But in terms of having to do anything that goes against, no,
You've
no,
never had that experience.
no, no.
Okay. I find that I kind of have a thing against, some Jamaican actors and actresses. They tend to overdo the it's almost like, the way the in the United States in like the 20s, 30s coming up, and they were performing and they were really overdoing it. And even the way they were depicted with the big oversized lips and the bulging eyes. Sometimes I'm watching the Jamaican performers, and it's like they're going extra to they have to skin the teeth extra, and they have to open the eyes extra. I understand that you want to emphasize the emotions, right? Because you want the audience to see the emotion you're going through. But to me, it's like they're overdoing it. How do you feel about this? Do you agree, or do you think that is something that they should do for the emphasis that they want?
Well, to be honest, to each his own, you know. I mean, there and time and place. When I was much younger, I used to have what is called roots plays. No, I never really got the opportunity to watch them per se, but I used to hide and watch them because my uncle used to own a video club. And so those days we used to have VCR. So whenever have no smart TVs and all of that, you used to have your VCR where you put in your video cassette and you watch them. So I had the opportunity to watch many of those. And so in those days, I would say that yes, they would really overdo for no particular reason. If you get the joke, you get the joke. If you don't get the joke, you don't get the joke.
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't need to do that. You already have this particular character, and whoever is watching you already knows that was like they can preempt the things that you're gonna do. Sometimes you're watching and say, all right, I'll come out now, based on what you see is going to take place, and it's really not necessary. And yes, in nowadays, sometimes they tend to overdo things. I think sometimes they really lack creativity, and they're not connected too much with the audience,
Yeah.
and I should not want to solicit a laugh from you. I should be so natural in whoever I am
Just flow.
depicting, just
Yeah.
flow like that. You laugh, you laugh. You don't laugh, you don't laugh, right? It's
Yeah.
you know
Yeah, it's something that I really find. I find it annoying because I think we're naturally funny.
Yes,
Yeah, but when you overdo it, it's like you're taking away from your own self.
yes,
But as I said, to each his own, because other people they find it hilarious. The laughter that they show and the appreciation that they show, they obviously don't mind. So,
yes.
but that's how I tend to see it. Um, Suppose someone wants to contact you to do some work for them. Would you want to give out any contact information for yourself? Any number, email?
Okay, so my email address, I'm not sure. Is my name on the screen?
Your name is on the screen.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get a banner for you. So tell me what the email address
So it's
is.
my first name. That's Caviene.
Okay, so Caviene.
at yahoo.com.
All right, so Caviene at yahoo.com. Okay, so that's how you can
That's
contact.
how most persons don't contact me that way. They contact me via phone, and then the conversation continues, because there are some things that have to be you can't just be talking. You have to.
Would you want to give out your number?
I don't have a problem doing
All
so.
right, so tell me what the number is. So
It's
it's
876
876
387
mm-hmm,
9412.
9412. So 3879412.
Yes, that's it.
All right, so that's Kavine's number. So if you have, if you want her to do a voiceover, whether it's a jingle, any kind of ad, audiobook, anything of that nature, you can reach out to her. And we have shown you, well, not shown, but we have um, given you some little snippets of her work so you can see the quality of her work. Is there anything, Kavin, that you'd want to add as we wrap up?
Especially for young people, they don't realize nowadays that there are numerous opportunities, especially for creatives. There are numerous opportunities for you to earn and create even more opportunities for yourself, right? But a lot of persons, they don't value what it is that creatives do, and a lot of persons don't value other people's time. You can't pay somebody. It's very even hard to put a price on somebody's time. So if you tell somebody, okay, I'm going to voice an ad, and for 30 seconds it's going to cost you $45,000, and 30 seconds and
Yeah.
this and that and whatever, right? You want it to sound that good quality,
Quality. They want
and
quality.
you want a crisp sound, you want good quality, you want it to sound professional. Then why are you thinking of what the cost is going to be, so a lot of young persons don't like that. They just want you to, I give you a price, and we're going to work, and I give you the best product possible. But go ahead, and there's social media. You can do more with social media than just posting pictures and telling lies and creating a facade and whatever. Use it to your advantage. I never have any social. The only social media I had was the telephone that was on the wall, and you were so elite if you had one of those long cards that can probably go into one of those other rooms, or the cardless phones. You know
Right.
what I mean? But no, this little phone that is you have so much potential in it. You can use it to do so much
So
without
many
leaving
things.
the
Yeah.
comfort of your home. And if there wasn't anything that taught you that it was COVID, remember when we were in lockdown, and
Yeah.
because you don't want to dead for hungry, you find a way to make certain things work.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget that particular those lessons that were taught that time. Use
Yes.
it to your advantage. And guess what? It's not everybody was born to be doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, teacher, all of those things. That's why you have Enda Manley School of the Visual and Performing Arts, for you to explore other avenues and make money that way. If it's dance you were made to dance, go ahead and dance your best ballet
The
or
best of your
whatever it is.
ability.
If
Of
you are meant
course.
your voice to sing, however
Mm-hmm.
you know how to sing, find a way. Don't just stay in your talent. Try to develop it even more. Right? Because
Yes.
you need to be on the cutting edge of things. Things change over time. Equipment changes, sounds change, trends change. This
Mm-hmm.
week this is in style. By the next week that is out of style and it's something. Even though things are they are cyclical and they tend to come back around. But try to be on the cutting edge, right?
And one thing's for sure, advertising works.
Don't be afraid. Nobody's going to know how you sound unless you talk,
Yeah.
right? And nobody's going to know about you unless they tell you. So talk to somebody else, right? Record your voice on your phone and put it up on your status instead of putting some stupid foolish memes and whatever. I think WhatsApp has this thing now where you can record, don't it?
Yeah, man.
So you record and you put it up on your status, you reading the newspaper. When you're on the TikTok, and there are some challenges, and you see them they're reading from the prompter, and you see that read that and sound like the flight attendant, or read something and try to sound like a different voice, and you would be surprised. Somebody just take it up and say, I saw this on TikTok, can you do this on me? And business start right there, son. If you do it very well, you have good customer service, you'll be surprised to see how far you can propel yourself.
So you just have to believe in yourself. And I
Yeah.
always say, follow your passion. If this is what you love to do, don't listen to anybody else telling you about that you can't do nothing with that.
No, that is
If it's
garbage.
what you love, you can
Yes,
make it
pursue it.
work.
Make something of it. They like to say that self-praise is no recommendation, but who better to toot the horn than the driver himself? And your car toot your horn, nobody's going to know your capability until
Yeah,
you
you
know
have to put
yourself.
yourself out there.
Exactly.
You have to put yourself
There
out
are
there.
going to be
I'm confident.
disappointing moments. Not You're not going to always hear the yeses. Sometimes you're going to hear the no's, right?
Mm,
But move on just the same. I heard
mm,
a lot of no's. So what? And I don't just push the nose aside. What is it that causes a person to not like that particular sound? Right?
mm-hmm.
It's not an attack on me as a person. I don't see it that way.
Yeah,
Maybe they just don't like that particular
that's so.
thing that's right. And you say, all right, what can I do to make it better for the next person? What can I change this? And, use everything as a lesson.
Absolutely, I agree, Caviene, and I'm so happy that you were able to come and share with us. As this is what this channel is all about. I really want to get into the nitty gritty of the thing because everybody, well, almost everybody, does something for a living, right? You
Right.
wake up every day and you go and you're at it, and this is how you earn your keep. And I want to know the ins and outs, not just things that, yeah, you talk about this doctor, lawyer, engineer, but what's the real day-to-day challenges, right?
Right.
That's my drive for this channel. So I really appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing with us,
Yes,
Kaveen.
thank you for
And
having
to
me.
my viewers, thank you too for listening in, and we'll have many more guests coming on to talk about what they do and how and why they do it. All right, so until next time, see you then.
Bye bye.